This is part 1 of my many-part ZZ tutorial. This tutorial will mainly focus on the two main parts of ZZ that are distinctive from CFOP, but then it will branch out into other aspects of ZZ. The two main aspects of ZZ that are different from CFOP are the EO line and the F2L. Now before we go any further, I just wanted to say that I just got braces yesterday, so if I talk with a slight lisp, that's why. Part 1 of the tutorial will mainly be focusing on the EO line part of ZZ. This involves orienting all of the edges while simultaneously putting a vertical line on the bottom. The result of this is a rotationless F2L and a really easy last layer too. Now before we start, we need to explain what an orientation is. So most ZZ solvers have a specific orientation that they like to stick to while they're solving, and for me that is blue front and yellow top. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to be sticking to that, although I can do green front and yellow top as well. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So now that that's established, we can get on with recognizing bad edges. When we look for bad edges, we're first going to look at these stickers on the top, these stickers on the bottom, and these stickers on the E line. So when we look for bad edges, we're going to look for two types of bad edges. The first one I have on this cube, and the second one I have on this cube, but we'll get to this one later. The first type is where either of the side colors show up on the top, bottom, or these four stickers on the E line. So let me show you what I mean by that. If we look at this edge, we can see that it is not a bad edge because it doesn't have either red or orange showing on the top. When we look at this one, we can see that it's not bad for the same reason, but this one is bad because it has orange on the top. Moving on, we can see that because this one has red on top, this one is also a bad edge. When we look at the bottom, we can see that this one is not a bad edge, this one is a bad edge, this one is not, and this one is not. When we look at the E line, we can see that this one is not, this one is not, this one is because it has red showing, and this one is not. So those are all of the bad edges on the cube. This one, this one, this one, and this one. With practice, it will become much easier to recognize these bad edges, but for now, it'll be a little bit troublesome, but trust me, you will get used to it. The second type of bad edge is where either of the front or back colors is showing on top, but adjacent to it is a top or bottom color. So in our case, blue or green would be showing on the top, bottom, or E line, but adjacent to it would be yellow or white. So when we look around the cube, we can see that this one is not a bad edge because it has white showing. This one is not because it has green showing and it has orange adjacent. This one is because even though it has green showing, it has yellow adjacent to it. This one is also a bad edge because it has blue showing and white adjacent to it. When we look at the bottom, we can see that this one is a bad edge. This one is not. That one is. And then when we look at the E line, none of those are bad. So our only bad edges on the cube are this one, this one, this one, and this one. Again, it's going to be hard learning to recognize these bad edges in the 15 seconds of inspection that you're going to get, but trust me, it will become easier after a while. So now I'm going to show you a cube that has both types of bad edges, and then we can walk through looking at these edges. So first we'll start with this one. This one is a bad edge because although it has blue showing, white is adjacent to it. This one is a bad edge for the same reason. This one is a bad edge because it has red showing on the top, and that's a side color. This one is not a bad edge because it has white showing. When we look at the bottom, we can see that that is not a bad edge. That is not. That is because it has red showing, and that is not. When we look at the E line, we can see that that is a bad edge. That is also a bad edge. That is not, and that is not. So our bad edges are here, 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 and here. On this cube, we can see that this is a bad edge because it has orange showing. This is a bad edge because it has blue and white. This one is not a bad edge, and this one is not a bad edge. This is a bad edge because it has red. This is because it has red. This is because it has orange. This is because it has orange. This is because it has red, and this one is because it has orange. There's not really much more I can say about how to recognize these bad edges, but with practice, it'll come easier. You should already get a fundamental understanding from those two cubes on how to recognize the bad edges. Just learning how to do it in 15 seconds is kind of hard. So just keep trying. It will come more easily and more naturally as you do more solves. Now, knowing how to recognize these bad edges is only half of the battle. You need to actually orient the edges completely. So, you do this by grouping bad edges on the F and B layers, and then rotating those layers. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I'm looking at the cube and I can see that we have a bad edge here and a bad edge here. So all we have to do is group them on the F and B layers, and we can rotate those layers to orient those edges. So let's say that we have all good edges on the front layer. Now let's do an F. So this edge that was once good is now bad, and that is true for all of these edges. These edges are all now bad, just from that one move. So we can deduce that doing F moves changes the orientation of edges. And we can use that to our advantage when we're solving with ZZ, because that is how we are going to orient edges. So if we group 4 edges on the front, we can just do a D and then an L prime to group these 2 edges on the front, a U to put this edge on the front, and then an R2 to put that edge on the front. You should be able to do this relatively easily if you know how pieces move around the cube. And then, just to orient them, we are going to do an F. And now, every single edge on the cube is good. Now, grouping 4 edges on one layer should not be that hard if you have an idea of how pieces move around the cube, which you should have learned if you already know CFOP. If you're transitioning to this method from a beginner method, you might not get this as easily, but trust me, you will get it eventually. So I can see that we have this bad edge here, along with this bad edge on the equator line, along with these 2 right here. So if I do a U2 to bring this piece to the front, this piece is already on the front, and then I can do an L prime to move that piece to the front, and then a D prime to move that. And then when we have them all on the front layer, or the back layer, but I'm going to use the front just so you can see, when we do that, now all of the edges on the cube are completely oriented, and you have no bad edges anywhere on the cube. And that is just from one simple F move. With this example, we can see that we have a bad edge here, 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 and here. And all we have to do to put those on the front layer is L and then D prime, and then we can do that. Now, slight problems arise when we run into this case where we have 2 opposite bad edges here and 2 opposite bad edges here. This kind of just needs a lot of moves to fix, but we can do it. So we can move this to the R layer and move this piece back, and then move this to the L layer and move this piece back. And then all of the bad edges on the front, we can just fix it with an F, or an F prime for that matter. It doesn't really matter. Now, this is going to be hard if you're brand new with ZZ, or if you have like an establishment with CFOP. It's still going to be kind of hard to grasp this at first, because you're not moving cross pieces around at first. You're moving bad edges, and that's a little hard to grasp at first, but it does get easier. I will keep repeating that throughout this video. Now, I just showed you a way to orient 4 bad edges on the cube at once, but that only works if you have a bad number of edges that is a multiple of 4, so 4, 8, or 12. But what do you have 2, 6, or 10 bad edges? Well, I'm about to show you how that works. So we have 2 bad edges on this cube, one here and one here. So we can't just group them in the front layer and do an F, because although that orients those 2 edges, it disorients those 2. So we need to do something that's a little bit different. We want to move one piece to the front layer, and then orient it. That will disorient these 3 edges, but we can restore those. If we preserve those pieces when we put this final bad edge in the front layer, then we can just do another F or B move, or F prime or B prime move, to restore the orientation of those edges. What I mean by that is if we just replace this edge here with this edge, and then undo or just do another F move to fix it, all of the edges are oriented now. Now, if you have 6 bad edges, it's not that different from 2. So what you want to do is you just want to group the 4 on the front like you would normally do for orienting 4 at a time. And then you can just do the thing that I showed you with the 2, orient this one and replace it, and then orient that. And that fixes that. The same concept can be applied if you have 10 bad edges too. Just orient 4 at a time, twice, and then orient the remaining 2 using what I just showed you. So just like with the recognizing part, there's not really much that I can do to show you how to do this that well. You just have to learn to apply these concepts on your own, and it will be hard, but you will eventually get it. So to everybody that understood those last parts, I have to congratulate you because now the hard part is over. All that's left is making the vertical line on the bottom using 2 cross pieces. And this is super easy if you know how to CFOP. So we just have one of the cross edges here and another one here, and then we could just insert that like that. That's all that is. So like you could have any combination of these and then just, wow, that was easy. So just, it's really easy to do that. 2 moves. So yeah, that's really easy to do, and you should have no problem grasping that. And now that you have oriented the edges and built the line on the bottom, the entire F2L can now be done just using R, U, and L moves. So I'm not going to do any rotations at all in this F2L. And we can see that we have F2L completely done. Now, I didn't do that very efficiently because I was just looking through my camera, but yeah, so that's pretty much all of F2L right there. And then we have the last layer, which I'll get into in another video. So that's it for this video, and if you like this or learned something from it, please subscribe and like the video, and comment in the comment section below as well. I would love to see any feedback or thoughts on this method. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.